when you run a business, there are a lot of boxes to check.
Let's see. Payroll? Check. Inventory? Check. Insurance?
Well, good thing Simply Business makes getting small business insurance fast and easy. Just answer a few questions, review your quotes, and get covered in under 10 minutes, all online. It's that simple. Check insurance off your list at simplybusiness.com.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and each week I'm joined by a panel of guests to discuss all things fandom and pop culture, primarily from a female perspective. You'll find everything from fanfic, to cosplay, to Schitt's Creek, to Supernatural, and everything in between. So put on your favorite piece of fandom merch, set aside that fanfic that you're writing about your OTP, and sit back and enjoy this week's episode. Hello, this is your host, Erin Marlowe, and welcome to a very special interview episode of It's a Fandom Thing. I have 4 wonderful interviews for you, all from the new horror comedy, Scared to Death. Scared to Death is about Jasper, a young filmmaker who seizes a chance to direct when his crew attends a seance in a haunted children's shelter. Trapped inside, they're haunted by ghostly orphans and a sinister force. So you're going to hear first my interview with writer-director Paul Boyd, and then musician and actor Kurt Deimer. And then you're going to hear from horror legends Bill Moseley and Lin Shaye. So first up, here is Paul Boyd, followed by Kurt Deimer. Hi, Paul. It is so nice to meet you and get to talk to you about your film, Scared to Death. I wanted to first start out with, because you did write it as well. So what was your inspiration for the film?
Hey, Erin. Thanks. About 20 years ago, I bought a house. It was for sale by owner. And the day before we moved in, he goes, "Oh, by the way, this house is haunted." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're meant to disclose that." And he goes, "Oh, no. Oh, in the 40s, this prostitute, it was a bordello. She died. And the USC were here in the 70s doing paranormal. It's really is a haunted house." So we bought the house anyway, and I'm not a believer in ghosts, but the kids and the wife, they saw stuff all the time, and I never saw anything. So I'd be up in the middle of the night having a pee, looking in the mirror, and I actually scared myself, just in my own believing is seeing, instead of seeing is believing. So that's where that came from, and then that paired with wanting to make a film about a film crew. Can you write about what you know? I know the dynamic of a crew. And I just thought that's a good conceit, have a bunch of opportunistic people fall into a trap, whether it's happening or not in their own heads. It was down that line. So, and then evolving into comedy with the casting of Lin and Bill, it was kind of straight horror. And then we said, you know what, we got to really twist it now and lean into what I love Lin for, which is the Farrelly brothers, something about Mary, Kingpin. Not so much Insidious, which I love, but she's so funny. Yeah. She's such a physical actress that I thought, that's the way to go.
Yeah, and speaking of that, the horror and comedy, I've always thought they meld so well together. Why do you think it is that comedy is such a good companion with horror?
Because it's the tragedy in comedy, right? Usually in comedy, something bad is happening to some person. There's some event that's kind of tripping someone up that they have to get out of and fix. With comedy, it's always situational. Sitcom. And with this, the comedy's situational too. And the horror, it's not, in our film, it's not jokes. I mean, there's the kind of, this reminds me of a movie, but it's not really trying to be a straight comedy. It's more the situational. Yeah, so it was kind of that. The comedy and horror are very closely linked. And that's why I knew if I could get that right and get that to work with the characterizations, then it could be funny and scary at the same time. But a huge challenge. I mean, whether it works or not, we'll see with the audience, but very difficult to do that. And our post-production took a minute to figure out the balance of that. I figured it would be easy, but because it all shifted, it became a hybrid. So, it was they say that there's 3 films, the one you write, the one you shoot, and the one you end up with. I kind of, in my process, this is my 5th film, it's always been like that.
Yeah.
I like the ball of clay. I like it to evolve and become what it's meant to be.
Yeah, and I think what works well with the comedy in this one is that it's not forced, like you were saying. It's not like, we've got to hit this comedic note right now. It's more, it comes from the organic nature of like some of the meta aspects of the film and stuff. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. It is meta because it's what I do. It's, and they write about what you know. But also, the humor comes from the situation, not from the jokes. You know what I mean? It's not, it's in there. But, also, I don't claim to be a comedy writer. I just know my business and I know relationships and the dynamics of the personalities and the hierarchy of egos and all that. Everything that comes with being in the film business is brilliant for comedy. I mean, remember Living in Oblivion?
Yes.
To me, that was a big inspiration for this. It was not try to be serious, but also make it a love letter to horror by embracing all the cliches and all the stereotypes, but try and intellectualize it a little by making it more about the mind and how we perceive things and how we perceive each other.
Yeah, and great. Living in Oblivion, I haven't heard many people mention that movie before, but yeah, I can see the inspiration there. Yeah, it's a great, fantastic film. And so speaking of that, with the, a love letter to horror, you've also got a character in here, the Grog, who to me was so reminiscent of like, you also have horror legends in the movie with Lin Shaye and Bill Moseley, but with the Grog, was that, if you want to say, was that like kind of a combination of different huge, horror icons in horror fandom, or was it just like kind of like just inspired by one? Or
you know what? It wasn't so much inspired by another character because the Grog was played by Kurt Deimer, who is the Grog. I mean,
yeah.
he also financed the film. He's the engine behind making the film happen. He is such a compelling personality in his own life. He's in a band. He does all of his own stuff. But he's just this guy with this huge heart in real life. So I wanted to make it the guy that no one's ever seen, the Grog. The people have heard of the Grog because, he's been in 200 movies, but no one really knows what he looks like because he's always plays the monster. But that role was really about the one line of, this reminds me. That was it. It was the kind of someone that's been in the business and done 200 movies, but loves the business. And to stay in our business, you have to. Otherwise, you just be tortured. And trust me, I think a lot of people stay in the business that are like that. But he just brought this light and this humor to it. And once I knew we were leaning into comedy with Lin, it made sense to add other characters that could be funny. Even though he doesn't think he's funny, and he ends up kind of being the hero in a weird way, him and Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more to do with that, like a kind of father figure and someone, it was a dance with that character, but he's such a lovely guy. And then even at the end, we tried to kind of proliferate his history by making the fake movie posters and, all of that. It kind of like what Blair Witch did. Remember when they kind of did the history? We've done all this marketing stuff. We put him on in the actor's studio, Larry King. We put him on the set with Spielberg. Like we created all this fake content to kind of back up the history of the Grog. Because we're going to do another movie with him as that character. And it was, it was great because he's also a good friend. It was, and he is a ball of clay. Like, he really does. And that's the thing. He doesn't really act in the film. He does, but he's not an experienced actor. He's really playing himself. And that's what I love about film is, a lot of filmmakers out there make movies all the time. They do casting on actors and they, you know what I mean? I love that. I think film should be inclusive. I don't think you have to be a trained actor to act. But he has come on leaps and bounds. And we just did another film with him. And then we're doing one in May also. So we've developed like a great collaborative relationship.
Yeah, and he sings the song, the Scared to Death song as well. So yeah, he was a great character. And I love that what you said about not having to have that classical training. Because I do think there are a lot of people that don't even realize how natural they would be. And I think sometimes classical training can even sometimes, take away from the naturalness at times.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, Daniel Day-Lewis, I mean, do you know what I mean? Some of the best actors are trained actors. But to me, all I'm saying is, for me, I'm not such a closed door on that because of the years of videos and commercials and all that stuff. I'm very open to who can do what. They don't have to be qualified. They just have to be able to play the role. And, and even in all the work I've done, I like to cast people that are most like the character. I mean, maybe when I get to a place in my career where you can have the biggest A-list actors that can do anything. But at this point, it's about it's not about that for me, and even getting Lin and Bill, it was such a surprise, we didn't, because it's a tiny little movie. We had no idea that they would come on board, especially swapping roles. It was a big challenge, but hey, that's what it's about for me. If it's not challenging, then, it's not interesting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's get to chew on something and really figure out problems. And that means it's worth doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you'd grow from that, which leads me to my next question, which is, as much as you feel comfortable sharing, what did you learn about yourself as an artist through the process of making this?
Oh man. Well, I think what I've learned as an artist from making this film is that, you have to stay open. When you start off making a film that's going in one direction, then it shifts. It's so hard to kind of not just fall back on the trappings of what you like and what you don't like, and kind of take risks and experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always done it. I've definitely experimented, but on this film, it taught me to let go a little more, to kind of let things be and let the actors do the work, and let go of my expectations of what I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Because usually it's, as a writer director, I have a very clear idea of everything. But with this, because it changed and it was evolving, and I had to kind of roll with the punches and kind of figure it out as I went along. Tonally, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest challenge. And the thing I learned the most was to trust the actors, especially if you know what you want anyway, right? It's not like I'm going in going, what do I want? I know, especially as a director for hire, sometimes you might not know what the writers really, you might have a different opinion. But for me, I knew inside inherently what I want, the message and the tone. It was just getting everything to fit into that, given that it was changing from straight scary to funny.
Yeah. And then you said in the beginning, you said you didn't really believe in ghosts. You didn't have, you were trying to kind of almost conjure up those experiences. Has that changed at all? Or did you do any research while doing this that might have made you change your mind a little bit? Or
It's funny, like UFOs, I've never seen one, but I believe in interdimensionality. I believe where there's smoke, there's fire, but it's like, when people see ghosts, are they really are they really seeing something? Or are they conjuring? That's so fascinating to me. The science behind all of that. I love science. And I try to incorporate that into my stories, even in horror, because it's, it brings a bit of reality, grounded science and reality to it. Like I have a film coming up that's about sleep paralysis and witches, and the whole concept of nightmare, Nichtmar, being like a horse from the night. Just the whole history of that is so fascinating to me when you can bring the science into it. So yeah, it's interesting. It's, you just never know what you're going to get. And I really believe that even if you have a clear idea of what you're doing, sometimes you get in the edit bay and you're like, wow, and people say films are made in the edit. It's kind of true too.
yeah.
I believe that, because it's not like I go in going, I don't know what this is. I have a very clear idea, but sometimes you see those ideas manifest and you go, you know what, after the fact, that doesn't work. How do I have to figure it out? So it's being on the set, leaving enough room for that and covering yourself. It's definitely a challenge,
Yeah.
I've been doing it my whole life. Every job, every film, I learn everything, so much more every single time. You think and then you're like, oh.
Nope.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for speaking with me, and good luck with everything and with the film. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for positivity. I appreciate it.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to
Always.
talk with you. I just wanted to first start out with, what was it about Scared to Death that attracted you?
When Paul brought the script to me, and when I knew Lin and Lin was attached possibly to the movie, and I knew Bill Moseley, one of my idols from, The Devil's Rejects, since I loved Bill before I even met him, and that he was, potentially going to be in the movie too. And we got to tweak the script, and Paul said, we're going to introduce you to the world as the Grog, and this character, Gregory Grogstone, who's been in all these horror movies, and I want you to be exactly who you are in real life when we're just hanging. And that attracted to me because I'm very good at like ad lib and off the cuff stuff. And so is Bill and Lynn. And once we shifted the characters around, we brought the grog in. We put Bill in a role that he's normally not known for, but he played it perfectly. And Lynn got to play perfect Lynn role. I just knew it would all come together, and was like, we got to do this. We got to shoot this movie because it's fun. It's like not a bunch of CGI. It's going to be different in the theater for people. Get you some popcorn and a Coke. And it reminded me a lot of when I went to see, I sat in the back of this packed theater and I saw Dumb and Dumber for the first time. And I was like, that was just so much fun. And I think that's what Scared to Death is, even though it's in the horror genre, it's a horror comedy. It's an ensemble cast type movie, but it's just fun. And people are just going to wonder what happens the whole time they're in there. And just, I think they'll connect to our characters as humans, and what we're going through. And that's what appealed to me.
Yeah. And I think comedy and horror go so well together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because you have that roller coaster of scares and then you've got that relief, that release of laughter.
Yeah, I do too. My parents always played young Frankenstein when I was growing up, and I liked the comedy of that because it wasn't real forced. And I think in Scared to Death, it's not forced. It's not like, okay, well, I knew he was going to say that because we had the freedom to ad lib, and Lynn, Bill, and I could just be who we were and all the other characters. So it's fun, and it's just reminded me of that kind of just something different than what we're getting that's coming out all the time. And I wanted it to stand out, and I wanted the world to see what Kurt Deimer could do as an actor. And now that you see me as the grog, and we build this movement, when Hellbilly Hollow comes out, my franchise this fall, you'll see the first horror duo, Bull and Tickles, who are brothers. And I don't want to go too much into that because it's going to be so much fun for people too. And it's got the comedic element to it, but I'm a Southern psychotic. You see me as a totally different actor. So I thought it was better to put the movie out first with Lynn and Bill to introduce Kurt Deimer and what he can do to the world before Hellbilly Hollow. So then that'll build the buzz, and we bring Hellbilly Hollow out in the fall. And we just continue to do movies together, spread peace, love, kindness, and common sense, and just build a movement for the grog all over the world. So that's why I loved it. That's what was appealing to me. So
yeah. And talk about a little bit, those posters that are in the credits are so...
They're in the credits. You got to stay for the credits.
Yeah, you have to stay and watch those. And I don't want to give too much away about all of them, but was there one in particular that's like your favorite, or was your favorite to kind of see the end product of?
Yeah, we'll probably put out a promo. I don't know if they've put it out yet or not, where I talk through the posters and how the grog felt. Does that come out? I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but
we got some more fun stuff coming out with the grog, and we're going to keep doing that. Those little fun short videos. But the ones that stand out to me that we're actually thinking about shooting after, in the future, besides another Scared to Death, is Babes in Grogland, like a 70s comedy, which I've always wanted to do, and The Grog Father.
Yeah, that one.
So those two, I think, could come to life. And maybe one of the others, I don't know. But Paul and Ed and I they came up with some crazy stuff on that when they would share with. I go, how the hell did you make me look like? It's like crazy, but it's cool. I mean, because I'm a horror icon. That's my character, and to bring that to life at the end. Stay for the credits. That's one of the best parts of the movie, when you can see what all the grog was in. Like, people are probably going, what movies was he in? Why does Bill idolize him so much? Because Bill's my biggest fan. Bill, which is weird too. When we go out to dinner, or I call him, I go, you want to go get a dinner and we'll meet? Or here's a funny week. I played a show with Sebastian Bach at the Whiskey, because I do rock band. I'm front man as well, and that's a whole other tied in. Like, my second album's coming out in May 8th. It's called A Grog Is Born. Can't wait for everybody to hear that. It's just a badass album of great music. But Bill was driving down Sunset. I'm out in front of the Whiskey doing a picture, and I hear this guy yelling, "Grog, Grog." I'm like, who's yelling Grog? It's Bill Moseley coming back from the doctor. So great friendships have come from the movie. Lynn and I'm Lynn's date to the Saturn Awards Sunday at the Grog. So we're going to have fun with that. And it's just, I felt it was the best way to introduce the world to Kurt Deimer and what he can do, and this character, the Grog, who exemplifies what I'm all about, because we need a bright light and fun and peace and love in the world, and people can just become Grogs and get on my back, and we'll get the Grog movement. It's just beginning now. So
That's awesome. And that's awesome that, the friendship with Bill and all of that, and also you doing the song for Scared to Death and
yeah, that
the
was fun.
music. So, yeah, so really, congratulations, Kurt. And I am really excited to see all the Grog in lots of different things and
Well, thank you.
whatever's to come. And those posters, seriously, you have to make sure to stay through the credits because that was amazing. All of those
What was
were
your
so
favorite
great.
poster?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I have no idea because I loved all of them so much. It's too hard to pick. But my favorite title though is The Grog Father.
The
Because it
Grog.
just kind of I don't know, it's the play on The Godfather, but also there's like I don't know, it makes me think of like this is going to sound really weird maybe, but like swamps and stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Grog Father is like we're all dead mobsters. It's
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I would assume it
which
would
is
be, but
like
for some reason,
the Godfather, but it's the
Yeah.
Grog. I mean, let my brain just think on that. Let the gerbil spin, but believe me, it's in the brain. So, and Dave's in Grogland too. I love. I
Yeah,
just
that's
something
a great one
catchy
too.
about that. Yeah.
That's a great one too.
So,
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Kurt, and best of luck with everything.
always. I look forward to meeting you sometime, and thank you for spreading the word because
course.
I wouldn't be here today without folks like you, and I appreciate you more than you know.
Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, my interviews with Bill Moseley and Lin Shaye.
Every group has someone who insists on doing things the hard way. They might be paying for a subscription they forgot they had, or refusing to update their phone because it still works. It's easy to be that person, especially when it comes to something that feels so simple as your wireless plan. But if you're overpaying for wireless, switching to Mint Mobile couldn't be easier. In fact, switching is so easy, it makes staying with your existing provider the hard option. With Mint Mobile, you bring your own phone and number, activate with an eSIM in minutes, and start saving immediately. No long contracts and no hassle. It's the same coverage, same speed, just without the inflated price tag. It's the premium wireless you expect. Unlimited talk, text, and data, but at a fraction of what others charge. And for a limited time, you can get 50% off 3, 6, or 12-month plans of unlimited premium wireless. Plus, they offer a 7-day money-back guarantee, just in case you want to switch back. Mint Mobile is a game changer if you want to stop feeling like you're overpaying and not receiving a good service. As a customer who has made the switch, my wireless has gone from being a bill that I hate paying to someone that I boast about to all of my friends, ready to stop paying more than you have to. New Mint Mobile customers can make the switch today and for a limited time get unlimited premium wireless for just $15 per month. Switch now at mintmobile.com/fandom. That's mintmobile.com/fandom.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required, $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. Additional terms apply. See mintmobile.com.
Hi, Bill. It is
Hi.
so nice to virtually meet you. It's an honor. So I'm very excited to talk to you about this movie, Scared to Death. I wanted to first know, what was it about the character of Felix that attracted you?
Well, I mean, I always like a huckster. So, that was a big part of it. I like Felix because, like many of us actors, we have a day job and then our passion. And for Felix, of course, it's real estate, trying to rent a big old house to a movie company. But by night, it's the crust family medium power. And that was so much fun. It was fun to finally say, oh my God. And then of course, I have no stranger to movie fandom,
Yeah.
both, on the receiving end and the giving end. And so it was so much fun to, be just, over the moon about the grog. And that really felt good. And it was so much fun to work with, a newcomer to the scene, Kurt Deimer, who plays the grog. And of course, it's, great to work with my old buddy, Lin Shaye. This was our third movie together. So
Yeah, I was wondering about that with the grog and how, it is kind of like, because I know there's huge fandom for you, of course, and you've been in horror for so long. And so that must have been really like, was there anything like about that seemed like familiar to you in a way, or like that, that having fans come up to you and go, oh, I know exactly this role, and this is exactly like that?
it was a lot of fun to play with Kurt because again, he was a relative newcomer to the movie scene, and it was so much fun with that relationship, to exploit that relationship. Me being, the grog, and coming up with what was fun for me was kind of ad-libbing a couple of titles that the grog allegedly had been in, like the Big Broccoli, just coming in
Yeah.
stupid film titles, and then he's comes up with he was good at coming up with some kind of response to that. So we had a lot of fun just personally working together, and
Yeah.
I don't know, somehow I forgot your question.
No, I think that answered it. Yeah, especially I loved all the fake movie titles. Those were hilarious. And just for anybody, when you watch it, make sure to watch the full credits. So because of
Right.
that, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And this movie, of course, combines comedy and horror. And I've always felt those two genres blend so effectively and so well. Why do you think they work so well together?
Well, I just think it's, breathe in, breathe out. And I think if you come down, if it's too scary too much of the time, you finally just kind of break down. So it's good to have the relief of, a little comedy here, little horror, ha ha ha, ha, and just,
Yeah.
it's kind of it turns out to be really kind of a natural rhythm that I think the fans really enjoy, and it's always fun, certainly fun to have, your arm around somebody in the movie theater, and it's scary, and you tend to kind of squeeze each other a little tight, and then it's laughing and it's expansive. I think it really comes down to physiology as much as in mentality.
Yeah, I agree. It's like that release almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And what really struck me about your character is his wardrobe. Like it felt almost like the first outfit kind of reminded me in some weird way of not necessarily Mr. Rogers, but kind of that kind of realm.
Nice.
How did the wardrobe, did that affect your performance at all, or how you related to the character?
We did actually, we went over the wardrobe, and I just seemed to be, paisley and maroon. That just seemed to be a lot of Felix. And, and I brought along my little scorpion bolo tie. So, it all kind of worked out. It kind of was very showman, very circus-like, but also staid. And, the wardrobe was very, it really helped the character. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I loved what it kind of added to it, especially because it kind of makes Felix seem almost not naive, but like just very innocent and very, very warm and welcoming. And I'm wondering, did you do any research on mediums or anything like that? Or
I had done a movie in that very house. It's called the Woodbury Story House in Altadena, and mercifully it survived the Altadena fire last year. But I had done a short film there called Gingerbread, and I play Abraham Lincoln, and Amanda Plummer plays Mary Todd Lincoln. And we have a seance in that same house trying to contact our young dead son. And in order to prepare for that, the film, the director, writer, Kendall Courtney Klein, and the film crew and the actors went and had a professional seance with a medium here in Los Angeles. And so I had actually experienced that before. And it was not lost on me that I had already had a seance in the same location. And so it made it, I knew what to expect. I knew how it generally ran. And so it made it very easy for me.
oh, that's really cool. That's amazing that you were in the same exact
The
house
same house
too.
doing
Yeah.
another seance.
Yeah, and man, I'm glad it didn't burn down too. So
Yeah,
no,
me
it's
too. And
amazing.
prior to that, I had done a Slayer video called Repentless. And I was in the third of the three videos. stabbing Danny Trejo in that same house.
Wow. So it's a legendary house.
I know. I was very happy that it survived.
Yeah. And then lastly, and I know this is maybe a lighter role or a lighter movie, but I still think you can learn something about yourself. As much as you feel comfortable sharing, what did you learn about yourself as an artist through this process?
You mean in Scared to Death?
Yeah, and Scared to Death, or through horror in general.
Well, I find that I like scary stuff. I mean, that's the deep part. And it's so funny because when I was a little boy, my dad was a Marine. I mean, he was a businessman, but once a Marine, always a Marine. And so he had served in World War II and Korea. And so I was the middle of three boys. We were all raised like, we had to make our beds, and Dad would flip a coin onto the bed. And if it didn't bounce, we'd have to do them again. That, like, not quite great Santini, but pretty close. And so the only time he really was fun was Halloween. And so that was always something we looked forward to, because Dad would plan elaborate. He would have friends in an old barn, and he would drive us little boys to the barn and say, go in there and, bring me a shingle or whatever you bring out of a barn. And there would be somebody in there with a sheet or scaring us. And, so I've always been, friendly to Halloween and scary stuff. And, and I think my first movie, I think I was probably about 6, and my grandmother took me to see The Blob. With Steve McQueen, first run, 1956. I was maybe 5 or 6, something like that. And so I've always just loved horror movies, and I have been spanked because my parents had caught me at midnight watching Shock Theater in Northern Illinois, on the black and white TV, watching, Last Man on Earth, or, giant Gila monster, black scorpion, all of this stuff. So I have earned my horror cred the hard way over the years, and just, keep loving it. 3 nights ago, I just went to see Bone Temple.
Oh, that's so good.
Fucking great.
Yes, so
that was
good.
Fantastic. I like Weapons. I mean, Late Night with the Devil. I see your Funkos over your right shoulder there. I was just at a Funko party here in Los Angeles and met David Dastmalchian of Late Night of the Devil, and had a great time. He said he was a fan. I said I was a fan. Just hanging out. It's a great community. It's a great bunch of guys. I love to go to these horror conventions and see, certainly the late, great Sid Haig, but, my buddy Kane Hodder and Michael Berryman, and, all of these, Linnea Quigley, all of these, great people. It's so much fun because, you realize that the horror community, the people that are into it, are pretty much of the sanest people you'll ever meet. We're all pretty much balanced, and, we get it out on screen, but we don't take it home and, kick the dog or chainsaw the wife.
So true. So true. Well, thank you so much, Bill. It was such an honor to speak with you, and best of luck with the movie and everything else too. So have a good rest of your day too.
Thank you, Erin. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm really honored to be the first woman to be talking to you today then, Lynn. That's such an honor. And it's such an honor to be talking with you, period. So I'm so excited to talk to you about this movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It makes me googie.
So what was it about the character of Max and the film in general that attracted you?
I had never gotten to really play a really nasty person that was supposed to be nasty, in her demeanor. And it had several aspects. I loved that I got to look good. I got to wear cute clothes and have my hair and makeup done and the whole deal, rather than a schlumpy. I'm used to playing a lot of kind of down and out characters some of the time, or, the motel owner, not particularly glamorous women. And that Max has a way of loving her own glamour, and that she's got a mouth on her. I mean, I love that she's, speaks her mind, and that she's not very nice. And I mean, I think luckily we were able also, I think, to fill the spaces in a little so you understand more about her, why she acts the way she does, which I thought was a very important element to the story and to storytelling, rather than her just be the nasty studio head who likes to fire people. That's, that's not that interesting to me, but her story became more interesting. And so I was delighted. And Paul Boyd, who's the director, is someone I had met some years ago during COVID. We did like a podcast sort of mock COVID program where there was the patriarch of the family was dying, and it was all the phone calls to all the family members. It was very interesting, and how that ignites the relationship to the family that this man is dying and can't really be the head of their household anymore. So I met Paul during that, and also Eric Barrett, who is the producer. So they've been sort of part of my life for a while. And then when they asked me to do it, I said I would love to. And I think it's a really good story, so here it is.
Yeah, and you look like you're having so much fun. I kept thinking that when I was watching it. I'm like, oh my gosh, she must be having a blast playing this character that everybody's like afraid of, and also
it's fun to be mean.
Yeah.
but only in pretend, because the repercussions are not going to follow you for the rest of your life. So it was a very fun character to do.
Yeah, I bet. And I'm wondering too, like you talked a little bit about that, but like the outfits you wear, especially when you're going for the seance and you've got those heels on. And I'm just thinking, like, did that really help you get into that character too?
Yeah, it did. Because first of all, it gives you a different posture. And for whatever that means, there's a sassiness to high heels that make you use your legs differently and makes you move differently. And that makes it almost easier. It was an easy element to add to give Max that sort of like, even if she wasn't really smoking, she was always smoking.
Mm-hmm.
She's always like that kind of. And wardrobe is a very important part to me of finding a character. And I told them I wanted lots of leather, and it could be pleather. It didn't have to be, but we wanted real leather and black, and sort of, she thinks she's kind of vampira, a little bit vampire, and gives her an edge. So those were elements that I think really helped me find also Max's movement, how she moves and how she kind of has this throwing things around in her with her body, that she was very fluid with. Kind of, she'd slap somebody across the face with the back of her hand if she could. So it was very useful for me as well.
Yeah, those outfits and that leather outfit and the outfit that you're wearing to that seance was just so incredible to see.
Great.
Yeah, because it added such another layer of like, and I don't know, you talked a little bit about the background for the character, but I don't know if you saw this too, that it almost added like, even though Max is confident or comes off as very confident, it almost added like it's another layer of protection against vulnerability.
100%. Thank you for that. That is hopefully because people that dress like that, that's often what's going on in general. When you want to feel like, kind of gives you that, that attitude. And yeah, she used that because we gratefully, I think, in the storyline, find out that there's more to her than that, that she has reasons for being the way she is as well. And we all look for protection. I mean, I do. We all do. Even when you think you're not, you try and insulate yourself from pain, whether it's emotional or physical. You dress that way a little bit. What's good, or you show yourself off because you want to attract something. So it's all very calculated, even if it's subliminal, I think. And she was very much like that. Like give me the thing that's gonna.
Yeah. And those movements and everything, which you were amazing. So.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I loved also how with the whole, like, don't call me Maxine, don't call me anything other than Max. And I think even that adds that layer of like, especially I think, and I don't know if maybe this was how you approached it too, but, being a woman in the industry and in horror as well. And so having to have that, did that come?
Be tough.
Yeah.
And like, anything having to do with female was sexy. Yeah. But not female, so that was, call me Max. Yeah, we did talk about that a bit too. And I think it's not so much as it used to be, but I've been in the business a long time as well. And you remember how women had to really, the early studio heads who were women, They had a tough road to hoe. I mean, they were pushed plenty by the male world, and finding our strength, and being able to use it without being. It's not about being a bitch, or it's not about being nasty, but it's about being strong and having an opinion and sticking to it. And she probably wasn't as strong in that department as some of the studio heads who really have run studios in LA, but she was trying.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is that thing. I think it's that dichotomy where it's like, you're told not to be too mean, but then you're also told not to be a pushover. That finding that balance.
Yep. And we both know that world.
Yeah. Yeah. And then lastly, I just want to know, and as much as you feel comfortable sharing, what did you learn about yourself as an artist, or even about the genre through making this?
Oh, that's a great question. I always learn something a little bit. It feels like I always learn something a little unexpected. And I also have fear in places that arise that surprise me some of the time about either performing or kind of subliminal things that I don't really think about because you have to kind of override them to do the job. But looking for the vulnerability of the character, you also reveal the vulnerability of yourself. And you can keep trying to sort of push it back into the character. It physically is affecting. I mean, I always think people say, how do you cry in a scene? Well, I don't know the answer to that. The answer is the scene becomes real to me, and your body doesn't know you're pretending. You can ignite all kinds of things with thought. And I mean, that's actually an acting exercise, we used to do at the Actors Studio, believe it or not, where it's taking a moment and really thinking of a past moment. And it's not corny. It really happens. Your body goes right there. I mean, it's easy. It's easy. The harder you push, the harder it is. But so I learned a lot about Max through myself, and I learned a lot about myself through Max. I really did.
I love that. I love that answer, Lynn. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for talking with me. It was such an honor and such a pleasure to speak with you.
Same with you. I hope we meet again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much again to Paul Boyd, Kurt Deimer, Bill Moseley, and Lin Shaye for sitting down and speaking with me about your new horror comedy, Scared to Death. And Scared to Death opens on Friday, March 13th. So that is tomorrow if you're listening to this on Thursday. Please seek it out. Please support independent cinema. And if you would like to be a potential interview guest on the show, please head on over to our website. It's a fandomthingpod.com. Click the Contact Us button there. That'll shoot me an email and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And while you're there, you can check out all our past interview episodes. We even have a special page just for our interviews. And you can also check out our vast catalog that covers movies, television, music, fandom in general. Anything you can think of, you can probably find it over there in our catalog at it'safandomthingpod.com. So thank you so much for listening and take care.